And we're back, about to start round one. I'm pretty pleased with our deck. I'm a fan of the site, much like you guys are who are watching this, and I've seen just about every archetype done, except for the mill deck. So let's find out if it's a real deck. Drawing first is actually not a problem. We're playing the computer cheats. It certainly does. Hello and good luck. This is actually a good hand. It may not look like it, but we're able to turn to Chronic Flooding with Psychic Spiral in hand. I'm good with that. We've also got a Doorkeeper for an early shield if we need it, which we may. And we're going to need to draw some land, but I think that's the case with most hands. If we can just stay uninterrupted and build up to 5 mana, we should have him. Doesn't look like we need the Doorkeeper yet, so I'm going to flood us. It builds our enchantment count, gets it out of our hand, and since we have the Psychic Spiral in hand, we want to start milling ourselves as much as we can. We've also got a Void Wielder for late game. This is a great hand. Oh, Lobber Crew? That's fantastic. We can Paralyzing Grasp that guy, and he just does nothing, ever. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that. Like, he can tap him once, but it's never going to get him there. Lost our Cyclonic Rift. That kind of sucks, but at least we didn't mill any land, which is sort of really what we need to draw. Also, I like having the enchantments slowly build up, because that one doesn't go away. The only way this is bad is if he has Rakdos, but we'll find a solution for him too. We can always Paralyzing Grasp him. Alright, so we can play Doorkeeper and leave Dispel up. These seem like good things to me. Gotta let that happen. Hit our Key Rune in a couple lands, which kind of sucks, but we only need one more to win the game. If we draw the Sphere of Safety, we can also Paralyzing Grasp the Electromancer. I'll pretty happily block here, even though it's not completely relevant. That's a problem. That's a good target for our Paralyzing Grasp. No more actions from us. We're done. And action. Alright, we got a land. We've pretty much won at this point. So I can't Psychic Spiral him for infinite right now. Our options are to play the Void Wielder and bounce the Spirit, which makes him waste his mana again. And then we'll Paralyzing Grasp it the turn after. We could also save the Void Wielder for something more threatening, but we've almost got this. All we have to do is make sure that our graveyard is bigger than his library. Kind of weird to bounce a Detain creature, but I think it's the right call in this scenario. Yes, I would like to use that ability. So we've got 9. Just a few more and we'll be there. We've milled away our other 2. No, we've only milled 1 Chronic Flooding. Guess I should bring this graveyard out so you guys can see it a little better. Milled a Sphere, which kind of sucks, because that would have made us a lot safer. And we milled 1 Chronic Flooding, which also sucks because I'd like to have 2. Here he pretty much just does the same turn again and passes. And I am going to play out the Hover Barrier and leave up Dispel. Let's see what we mill. An Injunction and a Doorkeeper. So he's got 1 point of damage sitting there. We're going to let the Soulsworn Spirit get in for a point and then Paralyzing Grasp at next turn. We're up to 12, which is getting close to enough. And we can start milling him or ourselves a little bit more with the Doorkeeper should we draw 1 more land. There's the land. So we're pretty happily going to grasp that. And we got our Charm, a Doorkeeper, and another Grasp. Feel very comfortable having this Dispel. We're down to 11 cards and can mill him for 15 instantly, which would put him to 12. Not quite enough. Ultimate price, the Hover Barrier. Sure, I'll actually let that one happen. We've got plenty of blockers. And it puts another card in my graveyard, which is good for us milling him. I should have milled him in response, but I was too hung up on the decision of whether or not we dispel the ultimate price. If he wants to kill the doorkeeper, I'm not even too scared about that. He's launching his spirit at our doorkeeper. Okay, I'm good with that one too. Again, more stuff in our graveyard just speeds up our clock, not his. Because he's still got to deal with the Void Wielder, which it doesn't look like he can. And we're up to 18 things in our graveyard. We've got a Dramatic Rescue. Life is looking pretty good right now. So we can insta-mill for 21. Which means if he doesn't have a counterspell, which he doesn't even have the mana for, I think we got this one. Let's be sure. We've also got enough to spiral with Dispel up, which makes me happy. Ultimate price actually speeds up our clock and makes it work, I think, next turn. So we are going to do that. It's kind of funny that I actually want my guys to die. So 1 damage to me, sure. He's got a gold card, and unless it kills me, this game is over. It's a Cryptborn Horror. Okie dokie. Now here's the really funny part. We're going to Dramatic Rescue his Lobber Crew. Why are we doing that, you might ask? Because we need the extra cards in our graveyard to make sure that we finish him off this turn. There's 24. There's 25, and I'm going to go ahead and Psychic Spiral him now while he's tapped out. Boom. You have 1 card. If you can kill me this turn with your 4/4 Cryptborn Horror, I accept that. It would have actually worked, but I stacked our triggers wrong. I had to let the Chronic Flooding resolve first. So that's something to remember with this deck. That should have milled him out completely if I'd tapped this, let it resolve, and then cast the Psychic Spiral, but I did it wrong. I cast it and then used this as mana so the Psychic Spiral resolved first. We'll need to remember that as we go along. I don't think there's anything he could have drawn to kill us, but there's no point in giving him outs that he doesn't deserve. He's rather aggressive and has his own Soulsworn Spirit. That kind of makes me want the cancel. Although we do have an answer to it in Martial Law. The other Inaction Injunction might be handy too. And I didn't really see a place where we wanted to tap out for the Key Rune. So maybe that was just a mistake having in the deck. Let's run it like this, especially since we're going on the draw. I don't want an additional mana source. I'd rather have more action. Had a couple misplays in that first game, so let's not do that again. Let's make sure we stack our triggers correctly, that we mill at the appropriate time. Now this one's not quite as good because we don't have the Psychic Spiral and we cannot begin Chronic Flooding ourselves until we have it. But I think I'm still going to keep it. We've got some card draw. We can stop any early aggressive beats, and we have our Hover Barrier, which is something else I like. I may even Chronic Flooding one of his lands, which seems a little odd. But it slows him down if he doesn't want to use it, and it gets an enchantment on the board, which will be relevant later for our Sphere of Safety should we draw it. So I'm going to go ahead and Chronic Flooding his island, as it looked like that was his main color. We'll see. And that may discourage him from casting spells in the early game, which is fine by me. If he has a counter, do I care? Yeah, I care. I want to keep my stuff. As long as we're playing land go, I think that benefits me more than it does him. Rogue's Passage is a problem because it makes any creature lethal, although Sphere of Safety makes me happy. Let's go ahead and run out the Hover Barrier and see what his thoughts are about that. He does not have any thoughts about that. Okay. He may just have straight up nothing. He's missing a color too, which is somewhat relevant. Okay, a Jailbreaker. I like that. I also like us getting down Martial Law. Yeah, that's got to be the play. And we'll Sphere of Safety shortly, because now we can just attain whatever he has and make that Rogue's Passage a lot worse. Sphere of Safety will help quite a bit too, as currently he'll have to pay 3 to attack us. That's the benefit of putting the flooding on his own land. Even if he never uses it, it's an enchantment on the board, and we can't start milling ourselves until we draw the Psychic Spiral. May as well detain the big guy. And it's possible he has enough instants and sorceries in his deck to kill us, but I don't think so. I'm going to go ahead and run this out and leave the threat of Dispel up. So now he pretty much has to use all of his mana to attack us, and after that we can get the Doorkeeper down and start some milling shenanigans. Any more enchantments we draw are pretty live as well. Like, this is never going to get used with the Sphere of Safety on the board. He's got a Guild Mage. That should help him dig through his deck. But again, our one blocker is going to hold back most of his deck. Let's detain the Guild Mage. Keep him off of drawing cards as long as possible. We've got multiple inaction injunctions. We may as well use one this turn because we'll still have Azorius Charm up if we want it. So I'm going to detain the Gutter Snipe for really no value. I'm mostly just cycling it. Did allow us to hit a land drop, which isn't bad. So all we need to do now is chill out with our Doorkeeper and do the best we can to keep him protected. If he's got removal, he'll probably use it on him. 2 a turn isn't the fastest clock on the planet, but it is a clock. I don't think he would have enough instants and sorceries in his deck to just kill us with them. That would kind of surprise me. We've also got Cyclonic Rift mana, so should we draw that, we're in pretty good shape. Don't think I want to cycle the Charm yet. That may come in handy later. I'm going to again detain the Guild Mage because it makes him use his mana now if he wants to use it, which he does not. Another inaction injunction. Yeah, sure. May as well detain, guys. That's what it's there for. And Doorkeeper number 2 is something I am happy to have, because now we can start milling for potentially 6 a turn, and that's a pretty quick clock. That'll get us done pretty fast. So nothing from him. And we are going to go ahead and mill. If he's playing around a counterspell, he can kill one of our guys here. It's also possible he just doesn't have one. So we got an Explosive Impact. That's good to have out of there. And the Cryptborn Horror. Again, going with detaining the Guild Mage. And this turn I'm not going to blow the injunction unless I draw another land. Him looting also speeds up our clock, because as it stands, we can mill for 6 a turn. He's ultimate pricing here. I can cycle this and try to find our Dispel. I think I'm going to do that. Let's see if we can rip a Dispel. If we don't, we've got a fairly good chance at drawing a land. So he's copying the ultimate price, so even if we do draw a Dispel, the guy's still dead. Both of them would be dead, in fact. Well, that's pretty spiffy. No, he put both of them on that guy. Okay, well, we'll just mill you for 3. We're down to 2 a turn. He's eaten up all our mana. We didn't draw an untapped land. And we took some damage. Okay, he did select the other target, so our entire game plan is gone now. But that's okay, we got plenty of other things we can draw. Well played by him. That was the right time to do it too, when he could copy it, because there really wasn't much I could do about it. But again, it doesn't look like we're in a whole lot of danger. We just need to get our own Psychic Spiral, Chronic Flooding combo, or some more enchantments to make sure that we're safe. I guess we were passing to this guy and he took that ultimate price and kind of did an is it Rakdos control-y thing. The 3 mana is starting to be less and less effective, but we can bounce the first thing he tries to force through. We do have him down to 18 cards in his library, so now we've got as much life as he has in his library. That's interesting. Cobble Brute? Sure. If his plan is to Cobble Brute Rogue's Passage, I think we can stop that. We actually get to prevent him from looting at all now, or copying spells, which I like. And now we draw the Dispel. Gonna Injunction the Cobble Brute. Little value in that. It helps us dig a little further. Now there's a Cyclonic Rift. That's a card. We can't do it this turn. But as long as we survive, we can set him back a long ways. We may wait and do that when he attacks, because again, he'll have to spend at least 3 mana to do it. And if he cancels it, I will still have Dispel up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. So sorry, this one's a little more grindy. The deck really only works when you have that Psychic Spiral available. That one could hurt a little bit, except that he can't attack with it. Sphere of Safety is pretty cool. Alright, so pretty much no matter what we draw here, I'm going to detain the Guild Mage again, make him spend the mana to attack with all that stuff, and rift him. That seems good to me. We're kind of just stalling for time until we find our stuff. Should we draw the Spiral off the top, we can mill instantly for 7 after we've cast this. And even here, if he attacks with those, we can block one of them, but I still think it's the right time to rift. He's down to 2 cards in hand. It wastes his entire turn. It actually wastes 2 turns if he attacks with a good bit of creatures, because he has to pay 3 mana for each of them, so he would be able to recast very little of his stuff. Just those 2, eh? Ooh, and you're activating... No, you're not activating Rogue's Passage. You're just paying for my thingy. So he can only recast one of his dudes. Let's let this happen. Cast with Overload. And we'll leave up a blue. Unfortunately, he won't have to discard, but again, shields are up. If he plays a 4-drop, he'll have to mill himself, which makes me happy. Just the Guild Mage, who is going to get detained. And hover barrier number 2, sure. Can't hurt. As long as we stay alive, we've got 17 cards left. We'll eventually get the spiral. We are kind of getting to the point where we need to draw it, though. How much does he need to double a spell? 4. It's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He could double explosive impact us, which would deal 14 damage with the gutter snipe in play, which is not insignificant. Let's keep detaining that guild mage. That seems like the most likely way we could die. Island, not the card I'm looking for. Just in case he has Assassin Strike, we'll hold it. It doesn't do much in our hand. If he attacks with the Crasher, I'll block. If he uses the Rogue's Passage, we'll bounce it and start detaining it, because that will make it an issue. But again, we get a time walk out of this if that's his plan. Let's go and Cobble Brute. Electromancer, so he's got his board back. Question is, what will he do with it? Maybe we do want Fall of the Gavel in this deck. Again, we're going to go for the Guild Mage. We'll let him attack next turn. Do some blocks, bounce something if he pumps. If he wants to draw a card here, he can, but that's his only opportunity to do it. And it mills him a little more. So he tossed his Jailbreaker, and we drew a Plains. Yay! Wish we had a looter. See why I thought an inspiration would be good here? I guess we can even take a little bit of damage. We've seen 2 explosive impacts go in the bin. I wonder how many the guy's playing. If it's 3, we're in trouble because we're at a virtual 4. Even if we counter it, we'd still take 9 because he'd have 2 copies go on the stack. So that could be bad. We are forcing him to do it on our turn, which may or may not be a good thing. Alright, that is unblockable. And you're attacking with it. I think I'm going to rescue it. We just need to buy a little bit more time. And this means he can't replay it this turn. So now we need to start detaining that Tenement Crasher. Psychic Spiral. Okay, so we can mill for 8 instantly. That gets us pretty close. Still going to hold it. But we're pretty darn close to getting there. He probably has a counterspell now, so we'll want to do it at the end of a turn where he attacks. And if he can kill one of our dudes, that actually would be pretty good for us. Okie dokie, thank you. Now we can mill for 9. He's going to copy it and kill both of our dudes and let us mill for 10. That puts him pretty darn close to dead, especially if he casts something we can dispel. Oh God, please cast an instant. Then you're just dead. Or we can draw a Chronic Flooding. Either of those work. We just need one more thing in our graveyard. Or we can just dare him to win next turn, which may be an option. We'll just detain a big guy. Draw our card. Didn't get there. I think we still Psychic Spiral him now. because we don't want him to have a counter spell. So let's do it and see if he can kill us next turn. So you got one turn, buddy. And we do have a Dispel, but you've got basically your whole deck at your disposal. Did we see any more? He did have a Rakdos. Had an Izzet Charm 2, Essence Backlash. Not a bad deck. But it doesn't look like he can get in with quite enough to kill us, especially with Dispel back up. Giving it some thought, though. And he does finally have access to this island. So that's a thing that could happen. What would we be afraid of? Cremate. Okay, it's exiled. I guess that's just to get the damage in. And he scoops him up. Well, I guess that was his point of casting the Cremate. Good game. That was a fun one. I will see you guys for round 2 in just a minute.